Radio Paranormal.
Welcome to Radio Paranormal.
How
I'm
much
so glad
stuff
you're
do you actually type in the damn comments? Jesus.
I'm usually doing that like the whole show. I just do things.
I'm dying, y'all. I have pneumonia, so I'm going to be in and out of this show. But I wanted to start it because it's what we do. So I was watching a movie earlier. It was actually the prequel to Godzilla. It was pretty good. Have you seen it? It's called Oppenheimer.
I have seen it twice.
Okay. It's pretty good.
Yeah. It is good. It is good. It's
everybody that's tuning in, thank you all for tuning in. So yeah. I got nothing, y'all. I feel like crap. So bear with me.
I'll talk about so obviously June Pride Month, all the things, and we had 2 parades yesterday. The first one that started at 3. Not only does New Orleans and a lot of other cities take part in Pride events, but New Orleans is also one of the host cities to the National Naked Bike Riding Day Parade.
You know, I've actually heard about that.
Yeah.
I kind of want to. No, don't. Maybe when I was younger and thinner.
You know what, Brandon?
Sexier.
I've seen the parade. It don't matter.
It's a bunch of us old dudes just like riding. I'm down.
It's men, women, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Walking, riding, skating, skateboarding.
No. You have zero protective gear on in your skateboarding. Let's see what the first item up for bid is for getting hurt when you fall off.
Well, let me also put out there that New Orleans streets are famous for potholes. So I'm going to say I will take potholes and a bike seat with the naked person for $100.
So at that betting site where you can just bet on daily stuff, we need to put that in there.
Yeah, there you go. Yes.
So before I can't talk anymore, let's talk about this Paracon that's coming up here.
So something you may not know is, well, you do know New Orleans Paracon, July 31st through August 2nd here, hosted by the Astor Crown Plaza, presented by New Orleans Paranormal Society, Ghost Augustine, and Haunted History Tours. We have those packages, all those packages except for the day pass, but we'll roll those out soon. You can add on ghost hunts if they're not included. You can also add on a weekend with Patty Negri, Sam Beltrusis, and Father Sebastian. No, there is one left. We sold one this week, so there is one left, and now we cannot hear you, Brandon. So yes, we have one left. We're super excited.
Oh, God, you're as bad as my wife. You're doing it wrong.
Doing it wrong.
Well, okay. Wait, whoa there.
Yeah.
Not what people are thinking. Not doing that wrong. I got you.
But we're super excited. We actually had someone, since we added weekend passes and ghost hunts available. Now listen, I want to tell everyone this Paracon is put on by 2 people, Chris and I, that we have been seasoned hospitality professionals, hotels, events, restaurants. That's our perspective for this. So if there's ever going to be a Paracon out there that you can call and say, hey, I don't see this. Can I do this? You have found the 2 people that if we can make it happen for you, we can, and we will. So do not be afraid to call or text this number that I'm going to put in the comments. But for those of you listening, it's 504-321-3366. And the site for booking is neworleansparacon.com. And the email is info@neworleansparacon.com. Don't be afraid to ask the question. If we can make it happen for you, we will do our best.
Yeah, we will.
Do it. We will. Well, and
I won't do but if you mess up and you ask me, I'm not doing anything.
Well, you're doing the commemory hunt.
I am doing the cemetery hunt. Hell, I may be in the cemetery if I don't get better. God.
You're going to be fine.
Yeah, I'll be all right.
I do want to say one thing. I know last week I talked about my little puppy, Gumbo, and
Gumbo.
so Gumbo has an appointment at LSU Veterinary College, school medicine oncology on Monday. But I do want to thank our guests from last week, Chris Harmon, Angel Morgan, and everyone else who has done healing work on him and sent healing energy. If you would not know there's potentially something wrong with my dog, he is definitely not acting like it. He is happy, go lucky, and all the things. So we hope for nothing but really good news tomorrow. But I do want to thank everybody that reached out and was so sweet.
And I'll tell you what, we'll keep you posted on the Radio Paranormal Facebook page.
Yeah.
Let me know what's up and I'll put it on there. So everybody that wants to follow the journey of Gumbo the dog.
Gumbo the Rottweiler. It's like
Roddy.
The Carl the dog. That's a children's book of a Roddy. So for anyone that, I guess it's a Southern thing. I didn't know about it till I got here. So it's kind of.
Everything's a Southern thing. You know why? Because everything started here.
It's true. Gambling started here. Poker started here in New Orleans. People don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
All good things.
And speaking of playing the hand that you're dealt.
Yes.
Let's talk about our guest. You told me bits and pieces. I didn't even read the what is it? My brain ain't working.
The bio.
I didn't because you've told me so much and I just want to hear it from the horse's mouth, as it were.
So our guest this week, I was lucky enough to meet because he just blind asked me to be on his podcast. And I thought, okay. And he's so accommodating, he's so sweet. And Chris popped in and out on the podcast as well. And then we had a really nice conversation at the end of it where we found out that we had an experience very much in common. And he actually has published a book on it. And so do you. But podcaster, author, paranormal investigator, all the things. I know he had something really cool come out recently. So
let me stop you real quick. Let me answer this question. So it says, what do you guys actually know about the paranormal? You know what? I know it's probably a troll, but I'm going to answer that. I'm going to tell you absolutely nothing. You know why? Because all I do is try to prove for me. I ain't trying to prove for you. Okay. So as far as you're concerned, we don't know shit.
Nope. We know what we experience. That's all we know.
That's it.
That's all. It's personal. So yeah, it is probably troll. That's fine. We've had a few of those pop up on social media tests lately too.
I enjoy it though. I like trolls. I'm a troll.
I know. No, you're not a troll.
I'm gnome.
That's different.
Anyway, sorry. Back to this. Back to
say, aren't trolls bridges? I don't know. Anyway.
Oh, very good. Yeah. Thank you very much. I mean, honestly, I don't give a damn who you are. Zach Bagan's all the way down to me because I'm a nobody. Nobody knows anything about the paranormal until you cross over. Every single one of us is guessing with our best logic that we could do. So, no, if somebody tells you they know everything about paranormal, don't watch that show.
Exactly. I agree. But no, I'm our guest. I was just thinking about it. I'm like, after I love that.
I have a curry brush for my beard.
After visiting with him on his podcast and thinking about who we should have on here, I thought, you know what? I think he'd be such a great guest for us. And because like I said, all three of us have so much in common with certain experiences. So, ladies and gentlemen, we'll let him tell you about it. Mr. Doug Owen.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me on the show. I appreciate it, guys.
Oh, wait. Thanks for coming on. And oh, my God, your voice.
Yeah, I was going to say, I forgot to tell you. It's like
I'm gonna take it now. Y'all go ahead. I'm going to listen. Please tell me the story of Peter Rabbit.
Of what, Peter Rabbit?
Story, I can read you the phone book if you'd like. We can go through A. We'll start with Adams, Don, Adam. Well, we'll just go through that, right? A to Z, straight through it. So
I happen to have a phone book with me. Yeah, I still have a phone book. So
nice.
Yeah. I'm afraid to throw it away because, people won't believe me.
That's probably true.
Right. So thank you for coming on the show. And this is going to be great, especially for those of you listening on Spotify. But look, if you're listening while you're driving, be careful because this man's voice might soothe you on. So drive at your own risk.
You're too kind. Too kind.
So, Doug, hi. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, it's great to see you. Thanks for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. It's fantastic.
Brandon, Doug, Brandon, all the things that you've now met. And I've now seen you because we did just audio when I was on yours as well.
Right.
So I just, wow, just tell the audience about you because you're just so fascinating to me.
Okay, well, let's talk about my favorite subject, which is me, right? If we're not our own marketing team and publicist, who's going to do it? So let's start.
Yeah.
My name is Doug Owen. I'm author and paranormal investigator, host of the Unholy podcast, and host of the Unholy broadcast, a 1-hour live radio show every week where we explore the paranormal, strange stories, the unexplained. And right now, I've got so many irons in the fire. It is fantastic. I've got 2 new books coming out before Christmas. I'm pushing to get my book, The Unholy Silence, made into a limited television series, streaming series, or a full-length motion picture. So a lot of work going on right now. I am the guest speaker and guest author, sharing the stage with Naomi Grossman from American Horror Story at this year's Darkness Con in Boise, Idaho. So yeah, a lot of things going on, but in a nutshell, that's essentially who I am.
So I saw a Facebook post about a fun little thing that you just filmed. Was it History Channel something? What did I see that?
I did the Uncommon Historian. I did a podcast with him. Is that what we're talking about, or was something else?
No, I saw you something that was exciting. I thought it had something to do with History Channel. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought it was, or something coming up. I don't know. Something I thought you found.
It could have been the Paraflix. I'm going to be the episode 1, season 1 guest on a new Paraflix television show, which is Beyond the Normal radio show.
Okay.
So I'm going to be on that. That might air on the History Channel as well. I'm not sure, but yeah, there's a ton of things. I'll probably remember as we continue talking. It'll be like, oh yeah, that's what I've got going on too.
That's that one thing. So tell us about your book, because that was something and the experiences in it. That was something we visited with when after your show that I was on. So
yeah, absolutely. So The Unholy Silence, it took me 20 years to write this memoir. And this is a true to life memoir. I have photographic evidence. I have audio evidence. And I have eyewitness accounts. And I documented things as they happened. And what originally started this, the basis of this, I was the victim of a real estate scandal. Now, I was living in a home where I was going to purchase it from somebody who defaulted on their mortgage. I contacted the mortgage company. They gave me 90 days to come up with the credit and the down payment. Well, at 21 years old, I fell short of that aspiration. So I sought a lender who was recommended to me by a friend. Long story short, the lender bought the house out from under me, said he was going to charge us just a minimal amount of rent until I got my credit cleared. And then he increased the rent $3,000 a month until I couldn't afford it. So it brought me to the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church said, hey, you know what? We've got a place for you and your family to go. Here's this house. It's in little old Nampa, Idaho, of all places. And, we moved in and we thought, wow, we can breathe. Everything's going to be great. It's going to be peachy.
Hi, Mom.
Hang on. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom. Mom just came on. Sorry.
We always say hi.
Problem. Hey, Mom.
Right.
So then paranormal things started happening. And, I wasn't a paranormal investigator at the time. I was just Doug Owen, husband, father, warehouse worker, just trying to focus on paying the bills, building a relationship with your wife or your children, and, getting the 2 kids, 2 dogs, two cars, and the American dream, right? That's what everybody wants. And I was completely unprepared for the paranormal just to kind of smack me in the face. And at first, we just dismissed it as okay, we're fatigued, we're emotionally exhausted, we're spiritually spent. This can't really be happening, right? So that's where it started. And through the year, and I was in there for probably just a little over a year, and daily there would be a paranormal occurrence that happened.
Okay. So like what kind of paranormal occurrences are you talking about? What kind of
Well,
things?
well, there was obviously the voices. There was things being moved and then reappearing later on where we had left them. There was physical objects being moved. My children would see a spectral sick boy crawl out from under their bed, go in the hallway, vomit.
Oh,
Uh, there was a man in my daughter's closet, and when I went to open the closet doors, nobody was there, but all of her clothing was swinging like a ship at sea.
oh
Uh,
wow.
the bedroom window wouldn't stay open or wouldn't stay closed. It kept opening on its own. And there was so many things. There was windows breaking. One of the biggest events that happened, I'll tell you here. So Catholic Mass lasts about 1 hour. You go, you sit, you sing, you get your homily, you get your bread, you get your wine, you move through it, right? That sounds sacrilegious. My apologies. It wasn't meant to be. So you get home in about an hour afterward. And at 9:30 in the morning on a Sunday, we left for church. We got back about 10:30 in the morning Sunday, Podunk, Nampa, Idaho. There's very little traffic. There's nobody running around. It's not a crazy city.
Hmm.
So as I drive up, I notice that the garage door is open. I'm like, whoa, did you leave the garage door open? My wife said she didn't. I drive up and I start to turn into the driveway. Well, I notice the front door is open. And I look again as I park, and all of the doors and windows are open. So I said, okay, something's going on. My neighbor was out mowing his lawn, and instantly I thought, okay, the neighbor's fucking with me, right? He's got to be.
Yeah.
Hey, John, did you do this? Is this you? He's like, no, it wasn't me, I swear. I was like, all right, I'm going to call the police. So I call the police, and two Canyon County Sheriff's deputies show up. They go into the house, and they come back about 10 minutes later. They say to me, Mr. Owen, there's no signs of forced entry. There's nobody in your house. I said, okay, great, thanks. That's great. They looked at each other strangely. I said, okay, what else? They said, well, we've got to tell you that the stereo was on full blast, all the way up volume, and it was on static noise. Okay, that's weird. Thanks. They didn't leave. I said, okay, what else? They said, well, we've got to tell you something else. I said, well, tell me, what is it? They said, well, every mirror in your house is shattered. I said,
Oh wow.
what? They said, yeah, every mirror in your house is shattered. So whoever did this isn't afraid to escalate. I said, okay. And they gave me a report number and went on their way.
Right.
Now, I went in to clean up the mirrored mess. And it wasn't just the large mirrors over the vanity. It wasn't just the large mirrors in the closet. It was the dental mirrors. It was the makeup compact mirrors, even the ones that were empty of makeup that the kids played with. It was the long forgotten shaving mirror thrown into a travel kit, tucked behind the toilet paper under the sink. Every single mirror was shattered, probably in unison, all the same way with force. So at that time, I reached out again to the Catholic Church. Now, keep in mind that this house was blessed 3 times by the Catholic Church. They kept coming back and blessing it. So in the year that I was there, they blessed the entire home 3 times, and it made it so much worse.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was just a typical, typical day. That was one of the more typical things, and
Wow.
it became so routine that the children just accepted it, and my wife just accepted it, and I just kind of dismissed it because keep in mind, I got to pay the groceries, I got to pay I got to pay the rent, I got to pay all this stuff. I am so focused on just living a life that I
Right.
don't have the time or the inclination to fight the supernatural at this point, but I did. And
Yeah.
in my arrogance, at 20 some odd years old, Oh, I'm the man of the house. I'm going to take care of this. I'm the protector of my family. I load up on holy water. I load up on rosaries. I'm loading up on St. Benedict's medals. I bury it in the yard. And I'm slinging holy water like a gunfighter every night, everywhere, saying the Lord's Prayer, trying to get this thing out of here, trying to get it to go away. And keep in mind that at this time, the height of social media was MySpace. So if you think back to that, and Brandon, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I had a wonderful MySpace.
Yeah,
Wait,
but there were no. We all did, right? I mean, it was the greatest thing in the world. It was like, wow, look at this. But when it comes to paranormal investigation teams and getting help, it just wasn't there. There were no communities. Now I just throw up a hand, hey, help, and I've got 30 people saying we'll come out and help you.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that wasn't there. So I went to the Catholic Church and I talked to them, and I said, look, the first thing I want to talk to you about is my daughter's window. Okay. It's high up off the ground. Nobody can look in. It's, 8, 9 feet the bottom of the sill. It keeps opening. I said, I can't keep it closed. It keeps opening. We're having all these other things happen, these things like that. The deacon I spoke to looked at me right in the eyes. He said, well, have you got a weapon? I was like, yeah, you're not understanding what I'm saying. I'm 240 pounds. I've got a shotgun and a Rottweiler. I'm not afraid of anybody.
Right.
I said, that's not what I'm talking about. He said, well, your house has been blessed 3 times. I said, yeah, it has. He said, well, no evil can exist where God's love is. I was furious. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm done. Screw it. Don't even talk about it. Don't tell anybody. I'm
Right.
embarrassed.
Yep.
Forget it. And I walked away angry.
Yep.
So I take my daughters home, and this is a Wednesday. If you're a good Catholic, you go to church on Sunday, you go on Wednesday, and every venerated saint day, of course, right?
Right.
So we get home. My wife is at work. I take the night shift with the kids, kind of a thing. So I put my youngest to bed, and my oldest daughter's about 12 at the time. And she wants a drink of water, so I'm in the kitchen. I get her a drink of water. I say, okay, take this statue, little ceramic Jesus statue of him kneeling in the garden. We've all seen them.
Mhm.
And I told her, and before I had done this, I had taken 5-inch long sheetrock screws and I drilled them through the sash into the sill. 5 of them, 6 of them lined up right across there. I said, there, let's see it. Let's see that happen. So I said, take this Jesus statue, put it on your window. I'll be there to tuck you in a second. I turn on the faucet to get a drink of water and I hear her scream. Now, I'm only about 20 feet away. So it takes me probably 3 Michael Jordan steps to get there. And I'm moving away. And I go in there and my daughter's in the corner huddled like this, biting on her knuckles. And I look at the window and the Jesus statue has been crushed into powder, completely destroyed. And the window is open. And the window was opened silently, but there were chunks of wood still attached to the bottom of these screws, destroying the entire frame of the window.
Oh
And
my.
this happened within 25, 30 seconds while we were getting a drink of water with an open door, and we were no more than, I would say 15 feet away. So part of the title of my book, The Unholy Silence, is about the activities that happened, but they happened without noise. And when these, and I call them entities because I still don't understand what they are. So blanket description of these entities, they did a lot of this in silence unless they wanted to be heard.
Yeah.
So, to remedy this, I did stick a solid steel bar, in between the window frame and the frame of the the outlying window frame, and that stopped it from happening. But that was just kind of a regular, everyday occurrence. It became almost like a circus, and
Yeah.
these things, whatever was in the house, they did not give a shit who saw it or who was there. They performed almost like on command.
Right. Right. So, and I get the deacon you spoke to saying what he said. This is blessed, but something from at least our experience here, because we have worked with the church on some things here. And this is unfortunate, you have to find the right, you've got to find the right Catholic. And they're not easy to find, because I think it's because it's okay. Well, no, you just do what I say, listen to mass, go to mass, do what I say, listen to my homily, live a good life. And most of the priests, the deacons, etc., I don't know what they cover in seminary school, but I'm sure they don't cover this in detail. And so, especially back then, most aren't trained for this, because there is another thing they can do called a clearing, which is not a blessing.
Right.
It is also not an exorcism. Do you see what I mean? So
Yeah, and unfortunately at the time, they wanted to just sweep this into the closet. They asked me to believe in a supernatural God, somebody who can walk on water and turn water into wine and expel demons, legion, into a herd of pigs. But when I come to them with a problem, oh, that's just not possible. We're not going to entertain that. That was kind of the upset that I had.
sure.
And so,
Yeah.
I reached out to, at the time, it's Big River Paranormal. And they were the only people to come in and investigate. And they did a great job. And during that investigation, a 25-cent a quarter fell from the ceiling, landed directly on her laptop. There was an incident where my daughter's guitar from upstairs materialized in the chair of my office chair, spinning around. And of course, the EVPs were exactly as you imagine: terrifying, threatening, masculine, demonic sounding, threatening to kill us all. So there was a lot of that investigation going on, during this time too. Actually, I shouldn't say a lot. It was one night. And every time they tried to come back, something else would happen. My daughter fell off her skateboard. I had to go to the emergency room. So it prevented us from doing further investigations. But I had friends who were psychic mediums come over and flee the house, of course, But the nightmares, the visions, the terrifying, things that happen, the invasiveness was absolutely just mind-numbingly insane. And here's looking back at this, as I can look back on this 20 years later and say, we never sat down at the table with everybody and said, hey, let's get a war room going. Everybody get out your notebooks. Why doesn't everybody tell me what they've experienced, and we'll talk about it and try and figure out what this is? No, everybody looked to me for the answers. And my explanation was final. That was it. And my kids were great. They listened to me. I didn't have to raise my voice. They were very well mannered, very polite. And we never sat down and really tried to figure out what these things were. It was almost as if I was locked into a spiritual battle that I didn't really know how to jump off the speeding train. And I didn't know when to withdraw. I thought force with force. I'm a newly minted Catholic. I've got the Lord and the Catholic Church on my side. I've got faith. I've got power. I'm young. I'm strong. I can do this.
And here's the thing. Let me jump in while I have a voice.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, people newly minted in any faith, they think they can brute force the evil, and they have the power of Christ. Sure, Christ comes in your heart and lives in you, whatever. But whose domain is the earth? Satan.
Right.
I mean, it's written, it's there. So why would they, whatever religion would think, you said it perfectly. You're asking me to believe in this supernatural, omnipresent, all-knowing spirit.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
But you can't acknowledge that the only person that got legion out of somebody was Christ himself.
Right.
So, let it be a warning to all you new people that are coming into the paranormal, or a reminder for all you people that have been in here. You can't brute force evil. You're not going to win that one. You're just a human. So, yeah, I mean, I get it. I've had an experience similar, and I'll be quiet for now. But
no, you're great. Talk while you've got the voice by now. But if you need to take a pause, I've got some more.
Yeah, please continue.
Absolutely. So I continued with life, and I had guests over who would want to see it, because every time I mentioned this, the lights would dim, almost as if I had a hidden remote switch, And keep in mind, this is 2008. I didn't have this technology. I didn't have any lights or smoke machines or anything like that. It was just an inconvenience, and I just wanted it gone. I just wanted to establish myself, pay the rent, raise a family, raise your kids the best you can, and move on. So, one of the other times, and keep in mind that people say, oh, it's all dark. This is all no. A lot of the stuff happened during the day, during daylight hours. It isn't like, oh, the sun's going down, quick, everybody grab a crucifix and huddle in the corner. It wasn't
Right.
that. This stuff happened during broad daylight, which I was
And
like,
that's a good thing. People think that hauntings only happen at night. Horseshit.
yep.
The reason us paranormal investigators go out at night is because there's less cars, less noise, less ambient stuff. But I mean, my God, I walked into a jail and in the middle of the day, and I caught a guard doing his rounds. So I mean,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know,
we also do it at night because we use a lot of crap that lights up and blinks. And the easiest way to see it go off is when it's dark.
No, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So
So,
yeah,
yeah,
that
it
is
was just
quite a misnomer for people that this stuff can't happen during the
right,
day.
right,
Oh
and you're
yeah,
so
it can.
unprepared for it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? In a dark house, you hear things. You hear whispers and things like that. Yeah, okay, I get it. But daylight. So let me tell you, the next incident that happened, my daughters were and I were downstairs. This was about 3:30 in the afternoon. They get home from school, hungry kids. They want to watch a TV show, a cartoon. They want to eat a snack. So we're downstairs and we hear the front door open and close, and we hear the familiar sound of my wife's high heels clicking across the hardwood floor. The kids look at each other, same time. Mom's home. Jinx, double jinx, triple jinx. Okay, girls, stop it right there. Okay, come on. Get your plates. Let's go upstairs. Let's go see mom. Let's see what's going on. So they go upstairs. I stay behind and I turn the TV off. They go upstairs and I meet them halfway down the staircase. And they're like, Dad, mom's not home. I said, come on. She's in the bathroom. Let's go upstairs. We go upstairs. The front door is locked. There is nobody in the house. It is completely empty. And we look outside, we look for her car. I text her real quick, hey, were you just here? Did you come and grab something? She said, no, I've been at work for, an hour. And, her work was 18 miles away, in Boise. So the girl's looking to me with these eyes the size of hen's eggs going, okay, Dad, explain this. Well, it must have been the neighbor. It must have been, him working on his house or, just hammer knocks. We must have misheard it or it was the TV or, you explain it away to keep fear at bay, especially from kids who are too young. But deep down inside, they knew what was going on. Now, my daughter that was 12 at the time is now almost 30 years old. And, she remembers some of these incidents, but some of them she just doesn't remember. And that's probably a good thing.
Good thing. Yeah.
A very, very good thing. But it got to the point where I started documenting things while I could because memory fades, details fade. If you're a paranormal investigator, and I like to make the distinction that ghost hunting is not paranormal investigating. We don't chase ghosts. We investigate the unknown, the the unnatural, the supernatural for a scientific explanation. Now, I'm not out there in the graveyard, yelling at these spirits, hey, come and grope my genitals, or appear in a foggy mist, or I'm
you
not.
can do that.
You can, yeah. People have done that. They taught
You
them.
and
Yeah.
I'm investigating a cemetery. Hmm.
I want to make that little small distinction that I don't taunt the things. I'm always respectful, but I'm looking for an answer because these things, as far as I know, don't make any sense. I can't go to the library, pull up the companion of all supernatural. That's okay. Okay, let's see. Okay, yeah, there it is. Poltergeist, also known as blah 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 origins. Okay, here's the origin. We don't know if it's the spirit of a deceased loved one. We don't know if it's energy from the super collider, the CERN. We
Mm.
don't know if it's particle energy from Higgs boson or if we're orbiting a black hole. We simply don't know if it's an evil version of ourselves from another dimension that likes to screw with us.
Right.
We just don't know. So what Brandon said earlier, that's very accurate. We investigate the paranormal, but do we have definitive answers? No, we just don't. But I would love to know what these things were, because not just Memorex or a residual spirit. This thing played chess with me every day. And the intention was always to disrupt, to disturb, and to cause me stress and grief. It wasn't a friendly spirit. Hey, guess what? I have the 6 winning lottery numbers for next Tuesday. Oh, it's never that, right?
Right.
It's always, I'm going to screw with you. I'm going to disrupt your shit. I'm going to break things. I'm going to try and scare the hell out of you. It's always that. So I have this insatiable need to kind of understand and know what these things are, because as Jen, your husband said, I could experience round 2 in another 20 years. Time has no meaning.
No.
But these things, they tried a myriad of different techniques, and they tried everything. They tried to disrupt. And when we went back downstairs after we realized my wife wasn't home, the head of the stairs also was the entrance to the garage. There was a door, and I heard this noise. So I told the girls to go downstairs. I opened the garage door and I go out there. And underneath of this project car that I'm restoring, my electric sander is plugged in, and it's bouncing up and down under the subframe, smacking the hell out of it. So I don't leave it plugged in because the house is old. It was built in 1952, and it's got the little screw-in fuses, and I'm terrified that, this shit is going to catch fire, right? So I always the tool. And certainly I didn't leave it on and throw it under my car. That's nonsense. Anyway, so things like that happened were just disruptive. And it was just the most, I guess, frustrating. At one point in time, it didn't scare me. And there was only one time that I was ever truly afraid, and I will tell you that story. And that happens to be the story where I decided to step off the battlefield, where I was done.
And I do want to ask the audience, because that's I've heard weird things. I've heard my name called, when nobody's home. I've heard footsteps. I've heard things. So this goes to the audience. Have you guys ever just had something weird happen? Like you hear your name called and nobody's home or anything? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, sure. And I want to, I want to hear this next story, because I'm going to circle back to those mirrors.
Yeah.
Because I want to talk about those mirrors from just another perspective. So I know this next part you and I spoke about, because you just said, this is it. So what was it?
So this was the denouement, or the climax of my story here, essentially. But there was a lot of different things. The neighbor had acted strangely, and looking back on it now, I thought he just had too many beers, because what he said to me was just obscene, weird, and just strange. But he had no recollection of saying it when I checked with him later. So believe in demons, believe in ghosts if you want to, or don't believe, because here's what I always say. These things, they don't need you to believe in them to exist.
Nope.
They simply do. Whether you believe it or not, that is just a fact of our life. Now, what they are, give it a name: demon, poltergeist, entity, spirit, ghost, whatever it is you wish to name it. These things are real, and they have the ability to interact with the physical world, and they have the ability to screw up your life, and they can do it in a hurry, especially if you're stressed like I was, financially ruined like I was, going children issues of just
No. I wonder.
Oh, seems like when we
did we freeze?
So it seems like when you start talking about this story, you start freezing up, and you have not frozen up in 40 minutes and 30 seconds. So
I would not be surprised. But so here's what happened. My daughter had come home, and she had come downstairs. And downstairs, I had two friends of our family. One of them was a new friend. So the one friend had been there before, and they were helping me put together music for a Christmas party. And this was in like maybe the end of November. I wanted to get it done early because remember the technology back then, I had to burn everything onto a CD.
right.
And it took some time, right?
Yep.
This is the technology back then. So they were checking it out. So in my office, the two girls, they sat across from each other, and they were 22, 23, whatever. They were about the same age. So they were sitting across from each other. And my daughter came down from school and she says, "Hey, Dad, I'm going to go cook some of those cheap Totino's pizzas we picked up at Costco." Okay, great. Do you want one? I said, "No, I don't want one, but maybe Meg and Josie would like one." And by the way, Beth, this is Josie. This is Meg's friend. She came here to help with the Christmas stuff. And she's like, "Hi, Josie." So they introduced each other. And I said, "Well, do you guys want a pizza?" And Josie was like, "Yeah, pepperoni." Meg spoke up. "Oh, I'd love a combination." So my daughter goes and ascends the staircase. I choose Nickelback for the next song, right? Nickelback, a whole bunch of different songs that were great back in the day, right?
Yeah.
Some cool stuff. So love them or hate them, that was what was popular. So I'm burning these things onto it. It's about 45 minutes go by. And I'm like, okay, she's been gone a while. I'm going to go see what's going on. And as I stand up, I see her coming down the stairs. And she has the plates in her arm like a waitress. Very, very adept. Very, very graceful. And she walks in. I said, "Oh, thanks, hon. I appreciate it." She hands a pizza to Meg. She hands a pizza to Josie. And then she has a third one and she starts to walk towards me. And understand that before I continue, understand that my kids, they would never ever disobey. They, as soon as I tell them something, they automatically do it. I never had any problems with them arguing.
Yeah.
And they were very respectful, especially with new company. They would never do anything to intentionally embarrass or shame me. It was always please and thank you and yes, sir. It was always that.
Yeah.
And it was great. In fact, I got tons of compliments on how well behaved my children were versus other kids. It made me like, "Oh, thanks. I'm the greatest dad ever," right? Whether it was my doing or not, I took credit fully for it. So Beth continues to walk forward with this pizza. And I say, "Oh, no, no, honey, I'm good. I don't need a pizza. I just ate a little bit ago." As if she couldn't hear me, she continued forward. I again said in a little bit of a louder, sterner voice, "No, I'm good, honey. I don't need a pizza. I'm good." She continued to walk forward. I said, "Beth, stop. I don't want a pizza." She continued to walk forward. And she crossed in front of me at a diagonal and put the pizza on the desktop. And when she did so, her face was about this far away from mine. And she held that diagonal position of setting the pizza down, twisting slightly. And I looked at her eyes, and the chill came over me. And her smirk, her teeth, it was a toothless smirk. Not that her teeth were missing, but her lips were drawn tightly into a smirk that was unnaturally wide. She smirked at me and looked at me in the eyes. Now, when you look at your child, your lover, your cat, your pet, your friend, your priest, somebody you've known, you know what they look like. And
Yeah.
I tell you, whatever that thing was not my daughter. And I froze. And I could feel the hairs on my toes to the top of my head. I did have hair back then that stood up straight at attention. And I was weakened for a second. And I didn't know what was going on, but I did know one thing. Whatever this thing was, I didn't want it to touch me at all costs. I summoned up every jewel of energy stored up for fantasy home invasions or heroic daydreams where I called upon all of that and I thundered. And when I say thundered, my voice was absolutely a cannon. And I yelled loud enough to shake the windows. And I boomed, "Get away from me or I'll kill you." And it shook the windows. Josie dropped her pizza and put her hands up in a reflexatory action as if she were being attacked. Meg shook. My daughter didn't blink. She didn't move. She didn't sigh. She didn't jump. And my voice was this far away from her, and there was no reaction. She continued to smirk. And she pulled away slowly, almost intentionally, keeping eye contact with me the entire time, and widened her smirk. And went to the doorway, turned back slowly, about this fast, looked at me again, and smirked once more. She walked past Josie and Meg at the threshold, went into the family room where the TV was, and went to the staircase. She took hold of the staircase with her left hand, the railing, turned back again once more to make eye contact with me, and smirked one more time as she went up the staircase. Now, Josie, who didn't know me, first time she'd met me, pulled out her cell phone. "I'm calling the police. You cannot scream at your kids that you're going to kill them like that." Meg said, "Hold on. I know Doug. I know his family. His daughters would never do this. Hold on. Something's wrong." I said, "Josie, I apologize." I said, "I'm sorry I scared you. Whatever that thing was, that was not my daughter." She said, "Well, we need to go upstairs and check on her." I said, "I can't. I'm too afraid." I said, "I am terrified." So about 20 minutes later, we plucked up the courage to go upstairs and see. My daughter was asleep in her bed. We all stood around her and woke her up. She woke up confused, had no memory of meeting Josie, had no memory of coming home, had no memory of cooking the pizzas. The last thing that she remembered was getting her backpack on and getting ready to walk home from school. And that was it. Now, at that time, I said aloud, "All right, I'm out. You win." I said, "I am not willing to sacrifice my daughter to whatever this is in the house."
So it sounds like at that point, you were dealing with infestation. There's 3 to 4 different levels of.
Depends how you ask, yeah.
Right, depends on who you ask.
Right.
Of steps of possession. Infestation is the one step where they it's terror, and we're going to do what we can. So, I mean, that's 1 to 2 steps away from full possession.
Yeah. And it absolutely terrified me. And, I took down the crucifixes. I stopped flinging holy water. We stopped making the sign of the cross when we ate, when we prayed. I stopped going to Wednesday Mass. And you know what? All the paranormal activity stopped.
Of course it did.
Just like that.
Yep.
And, it's interesting because as I was wrapping things up at the Catholic Church, I had walked up the aisle and I had turned around and there was the vicar himself, was the priest, Father Tim Ritchie. He stood there and I was like, "Oh, Father." Now, keep in mind, this man is always super busy. In fact, I had seen him maybe twice in the year that I'd been attending. And, he's like, "Hey, I heard there was some kind of trouble with the house." And I said, and you know what I did? I lied my ass off. I said, "Oh, yeah, we're good. We had a little bit of a hiccup, but now we're good. It's great. It's a great house. Again, thank you so much. Appreciate it." And he looks at me. He's, "Okay." He pats me on the shoulder and walks on. Now, at that time, I didn't think he had the wherewithal or the perspicacity to actually make a difference confronting whatever this was. I was terrified. I didn't have faith in him and his tools to actually rid the house or my daughter or this of this thing. So I didn't take that chance. And to my everlasting shame, yes, I lied to my priest, right to his face. But, I really didn't feel I had a choice because, I had another daughter. And, I wasn't willing to risk the children on the off chance that he was not capable of taking care. Because we all saw The Exorcist. Nobody wants to happen to your kids.
Let me come in and change what you said there a little bit.
Sure.
You said you lied to a priest, right?
I did.
That just sounds horrible.
It does, right?
No, what you did was self-preservation.
It was.
Right.
Well, so, I mean,
but I'll give you some perspective that I understand, for the simple fact that think about the things that were done in the house that quote unquote should have worked.
Right.
And I can totally empathize with you based on the experience that I had with the things you're trained as an investigator when something like this happens are supposed to work. You see them start working and then you see them stop.
Right. Right.
Everything you were told would work. Everything you were told would make a difference.
Yep.
Hours later, stopped working. And then you question, was it my faith? Was it their faith? Was it the power? Was it it makes you start questioning. And you were in that position too, where the things that the church were telling you, oh, your house is blessed.
But is that not the point
out there?
Right.
It makes you question your faith. Is that
Yeah.
not, I think that might be the point.
I mean, we were told that if you give someone under the influence of a demonic entity, if you sneak holy water into something they will drink and they don't know it, that will make them not be able to drink it. Guess what, folks? That didn't work. You were told that if you put crucifixes on or crosses or things like that hours before were burning skin. Holy water was burning skin. And hours later, they put them on like it was the best set of jewelry they've ever had on. And their eyes are black as can be. And it stopped working. What are you supposed to do next?
Right.
What are you supposed to do? Where are you supposed to go? And I think you're right, Brandon. That is part of it. Like that's their shtick to get you to not have faith. But then I still say back, what do you do next?
Right.
Well, I mean, there's a hierarchy of demons, just like there's a hierarchy of Catholicism.
And angels.
So if the bishop's not working, let's go to the vicar.
Right.
If the vicar's not working, let's go to the Vatican.
Right.
I mean, and if Christianity is set up like that, the demonic is an inversion of what's set up. So whatever you see in the religious hierarchy, I don't know. I've never talked to a demon. He's not my buddy. But I would think that it's an inversion because you can't have one without the other. So there's hierarchies everywhere. And, you just got to keep doing what you do and not give up, really.
Yeah. And
I have talked to one too, and they're not fun.
And that's the thing is I felt like they tried for a year. And then I felt like they're like, okay, Thielza Wheeze, you're up, okay, let's get you down there. Go ahead and tackle this. I need you guys to close this deal because we've got a quota. So, send in the big guns. And I kind of felt like it was that. Like the other things that were happening just didn't get the job done. I felt like they pulled out all the stops, and I was like, whoa, okay, now I get it. All right, so you're gonna screw with my daughter. Okay, now we're on a different level of playing. But it's like they tried different things, and nothing shook me. In fact, I prayed harder. I went to more, masses. I bought more trinkets. I use the word trinkets, I guess. What we call them indulgences, or I bought more of the the tools that you're supposed to have. And boy, it just didn't work. Not at all. In fact, it seemed to piss them off even worse. And
that's kind of like buying a pistol and no bullets.
Exactly. I thought I was just a bad aim, as you're doing this. You're like, well, maybe I'm not saying this word right. Let me read the holy water bottle again, as you're slinging it I'm flinging it in every dark corner of the house. And there were things in this house that should not have been. And as I said, I only stayed there for about a year, and then I was done. I just threw in the towel. It was over. My marriage had failed. My wife had sought outside companionship from our marriage. The kids were just done and fed up. The whole family unit, everything I tried to build, had just broken down and crumbled. And I was exhausted. I was just, at my wits' end. From one battle to the next, it seemed never ending. And I was like, well, I don't know what else to do. Well, I gotta move. We just have to leave. That's it.
And the fact that this was someplace that you were recommended and referred to by the church and they helped you get it, that sure didn't help, any of that situation because, well, they recommended, they were part of this, then this should be fine, right?
I thought so. I thought it was going to be, finally a place where we could rest. But again, the closet, that they keep all of these things locked in is so tight. They lock
Yeah.
up the ritual Romano. You're not supposed to have access to that. You're not supposed to know or talk about exorcism because we need to talk about mental illness. Did you guys smoke crack in your basement? Did you
Yeah.
guys lick the water heater and suck on some radon from the basement? Are you guys
Now I will step in and say that should have been the first set of questions. Let's check on the mental health. That shouldn't
Right.
have been like the 12th set.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, that's one of the first things that I talk to clients about. I was like, look,
Yeah.
we got to get personal. I
Yeah.
need to know what you're taking, but why not start there? I don't get it.
Well, the fact that they came and blessed the house 3 times upon request was unusual in itself. And when I first moved in, they pushed to have it blessed. And I was like, well, we're still unloading. Let's make it next week. Well, we need to get that house blessed right away. Okay, all right. They pushed for it, and they pushed hard. And I was like, okay, come on in. You know what? Just have a guy. Can we come out at noon? Yeah, come out at noon. Come do it. And they did that the first time. Made it worse. Second time, I had the newly anointed priest, a young priest of 21 years old who decided to join the priesthood. And he came out and he blessed the house, and it made it worse. And then the third time was another deacon who came out, blessed the house again, made it worse. So it was those 3 things that were, and I'm sure, in the annals and in the hallways of the church, they talked about it in whispers because they didn't ask me about my mental health. They didn't ask me about substance abuse. They didn't
Right.
ask me if I had a history of, sucking helium through a straw for parties. They
Right.
didn't ask any of these things. They went straight to, well, no evil can exist. We're just going to tell you, hey, you're making a mistake. There's no evil. Well, okay, I didn't say the word evil. You did. I just said there's some weird shit happening here. Why, you went straight to evil. Okay. So obviously they knew something was going on because I talked about it.
I have a question that just popped
You
in my
had
head.
the whole everything you just said points to the fact they knew.
Here's the thing: if evil can't exist where the presence of God is, then how the hell is there so much evil on this planet?
Right. Right.
I'm not saying any faith that does the exorcism is wrong or right, but I've seen it time and time again where fake faith will get you hurt.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And genuine faith will get you hurt. I can tell you without a doubt that I was an absolute solid true believer. Every fiber of my being had this faith. The incidents that led me to the Catholic Church themselves were almost supernatural in nature. I had no intention of becoming a Catholic, until these things led me there. And I was like, okay, well, if we look at the signs that, that are there, okay, I guess I'm supposed to be Catholic. And, it's interesting because when you believe in something so hard, does your focus and your intense focus on something make it real? Can you materialize faith? Can you manufacture faith? And is it genuine?
Well, and
And
there's a theory in the paranormal world with the rake and other things that if enough people believe in something, it'll pop up. So,
right,
yeah.
absolutely.
There's power in suggestion. It's so interesting that, the person in that I had an experience with that was so affected by, the things I said from a Christian, not Catholic, but from a Christian point of view, it was you could that you I had he had a Bible. I mean, it was you couldn't shake that either. Yet that was to interesting enough out of the people that were in the room in the investigations at the time. That's the one that was picked. Now, okay, that person taunted, didn't help. But out of everybody in the room, they picked that one. And
Yeah.
the similarities and parallels between the experiences we both had have just, I mean, it's always fascinated me because you feel like you're alone. You feel like no one else has gone through this. You feel like it's all different. But the parallels are just crazy. It's crazy how similar the circumstances, the people, the victims, the things like that were or are between the things that and Brandon, if he didn't have pneumonia, I'm sure he'd share some of the stuff that he experienced that was very similar, and there's parallels and all the other stuff with the things that he encountered as well. So I'd love for people to share their comments. I'd love for people to, here's the thing, what people need are outlets for help.
Right.
Because they do not need to go through I'm going to say, and if you want to use a different term, please feel free to correct me, the brick wall you hit.
Absolutely. That's a perfect analogy. And that's exactly what it was. There was, and before I went to Big River Paranormal and the Catholic Church, I had a friend who was like, look, I've got a spiritual medium. We'll bring her in. She comes into the house and I was like, hi, I'm Doug and nice to meet you. Ignores me, glosses over me like she can't even see me, heads straight for the stairs to the basement, goes downstairs, speaks in a childlike voice. And I'm thinking, wow, this is making me feel weird. This girl's either a great actress or, she's really connected to something. So she stayed for about 20 minutes and then fled the house and never came back and didn't really have any answers. Just that maybe a little boy's spirit was there. And that's all we got from her. But, that was the thing is there was no help available. I went to the police. I went to the church. I went to friends. I went to psychic mediums. I saw the only paranormal investigation group in the phone book. Yes, phone book. That's right, Brandon, just like what you have. Phone book. The only phone book I had. And that was it. And, bless their heart, Big River Paranormal has grown and they're great. They're fantastic. But back in the day, she was one gal with 4 people. Oh, I love that. That is amazing. That is an antique, sir. You should have it in a glass case where nobody can touch it.
Right.
So Doug, I know this is all in your book, and you've got more coming out. So tell everybody that's listening or going to be listening or watching, where can they get your book? Where can they get it autographed? Tell us all about those things.
Absolutely. So you can find my book, The Unholy Silence. It's on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Lulu, Google Books. It's everywhere. I think it's in like 40 countries. It's crazy. And I'm seeing more every day. It's on audiobook with my own lovely, thank you, Brandon, lovely voice. You can hear me read it. And every type of format you want, Kindle, hardback, paperback. You can find it simply Google authordougowen.com. And I'm like everywhere. There's like 7 pages of stuff. And I didn't even realize it was, this was happening. But, the other day I Googled my own name and I was like, wow, I'm like everywhere. That's so cool. So, you can really see it everywhere. But authordougowen.com, I update the website probably daily. It's a great resource. It's got interviews, links, the Unholy podcast broadcast, and you can find it there. So I would expect Amazon's probably the easiest place to grab it, but whichever book dealer you want to go to, it's everywhere.
And now, of course, I have to do my disclaimer, Jen.
He does.
You know.
I
So here at Radio Paranormal, we don't believe in Amazon or the other things. We believe that you should go directly to the writer. That way they get their money. Amazon is horrible about paying their writers. So also, if you go directly to the source, the odds of you getting something inscribed in your book go way up. So if you can, just take 5 more minutes to find his site. I know Amazon. I don't care. I hate Amazon.
There is.
They're a horrible, horrible conglomerate. Anyway, take the extra 5 minutes, go to his website, buy it directly from him, or go see him where he's going to be live. Meet the man. And I'm getting there. Yeah. And meet the man and get it autographed in person. Maybe even get a selfie with him. So where are you coming up?
I will be at the Boise Darkness Con on July 11th. And I'll be having an hour-long panel where fans can ask me questions. And, you get autographs, and you can get also get copies of my book. So come on out, say hello. Yeah.
Thank you, Mom. That was so sweet. Mom said it was fascinating. She stayed with this one, but she's heard about somewhat about my experience too. So I wondered how long she'd hang on here for sure. So I appreciate it, Mom. So Doug, listen, I'm so glad we had you on. I'm so glad Brandon got to hear it too. I know we're going to be talking about this for a while. I'd love to put you in the mix for next year for 2027 New Orleans Paracon.
I think that's a great idea.
Absolutely.
I think you'd be such a great mix. I think you're such a fascinating story in person. Not to mention the voice. Brandon's like, yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
People need to hear this. Now, listen, for anyone out there who's having similar experiences, there are outlets for people. Doug, I know we have some. We're trying to build a network for people to get, help with things like this. No, you're not going to get a priest out to your door right away. But like I said, when I told you earlier, it takes the right Catholic. That is something we're building. And that is a network that we're building. And we do have resources. If they may or may not be there, they may or may not be 2 or 3 hours away. But it takes the right priest, etc., to go out there and know what to do and
also, like, if you're out there and you're struggling, I mean, I've been doing this 30 plus years, and I have a strong network of people that I trust, and you can reach out to me, and I don't care where you're at, we'll figure out something. I mean, I have friends internationally, and it's not just me, but there's so many other people out there that are genuine and actually have the
wherewithal.
Thank you. 40 milligrams of steroids are killing me right now. But so I forgot what I was saying. Why don't you help me out and save me?
You are a trooper, sir, and a gentleman and a scholar. I admire your strength. I would not be doing this if I had pneumonia.
Well, I get whatever.
Pure Viltrumite. Good job, buddy.
Thank you very much.
He is committed, and I'm lucky to have him for sure. So, go see Doug, go hear about his story, go hear about his experiences, go read his book. Thank you again for coming on.
My pleasure.
Brandon, I know you have been a man, a few words, but there was something we were talking about before the podcast.
Oh yeah, that's right. We were